if all the original Kings came together, Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, Steve Harvey. We don't have Brother Bernie Mac anymore.
Yeah, man.
Who do you feel like can get in there?
I mean, it's a lot of legendary comics, man. Like people that are dope. I always feel like a lot.
Before he goes, no one. And my automatic answer, my first answer is going to say no one. No one should be replacing Bernie Mac and the Kings of Comedy. It's not even going to be original Kings. They're not original Kings of Comedy once you add somebody in there. But in the Kings of Comedy tour, if they did another one or they did like another special or some kind of, one-off, whatever, do it just the three. Or, and it's a very big or, you add Dave Chappelle. Cedric the Entertainer was a part of the Kings of Comedy, the original Kings of Comedy, right? So you had Cedric Entertainer, Steve Harvey, D.L. Hughley, and Bernie Mac. They're original four, the OG four. Obviously, Bernie Mac passed. We heard what Cat Williams had to say on the podcast with Shay just a couple years ago, or about a year and a half ago. Damn, actually, it's December. It's almost a couple years at this point. But we heard what Cat Williams had to say about Cedric Entertainer and pretty much Steve Harvey as well. And I think he said D.L. Hughley. And even if he didn't say anything about D.L. Hughley, I gotta go back and listen to that podcast, by the way. Because that was a gem. But even if he didn't say anything about D.L. Hughley had in the past couple of years has looked completely buffoonish in every fucking way possible. This dude's a fucking lunatic. He's retarded. And all he does is virtue signal at this point in his career and in his life. And it's very sad to watch. Here's a guy that I thought was one of the funniest dudes growing up. Cedric the Entertainer is literally that. He's an entertainer. He's not a great stand-up comedian, but he is when it comes to movies and acting, dude's fucking hilarious. So, I mean, the fact that, when you say that, oh, he steals jokes and he stole this, that could be true, 100%. But his presence on screen and his comedic timing is impeccable. It's one of a kind, and I love it. And speaking of one of a kind, let's get to Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac is one of a kind, a guy that you cannot replace, a guy whose comedic timing, not even his timing, but his aneurysms, mannerisms, but his mannerisms, all that stuff. Bernie Mac to me is the same way I look at Dave Chappelle, or I should say, the other way around. Dave Chappelle is the same way I look at Bernie Mac when I was growing up. Was like those guys are just one of a kind. Bernie Mac, Dave Chappelle. I heard somebody, I saw somebody yesterday on Twitter trying to post some rage bait or tweet out some rage bait to get people to hate them, to say that they never thought that, or they never heard a good joke from Richard Pryor. They were like, oh, I've never heard Richard Pryor say a good joke. I'm like, oh, fucking rage bait. But anyway, let's go ahead and get in this video. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, all that good stuff, because we are about to hear Cedric Entertainer say something that I think I needed to talk about as a guy who loves not just stand-up comedy, but comedy in general. I love funny movies, all this stuff. I'm a fan of Cedric Entertainer, but much like D.L. Hughley and Steve Harvey, I've kind of fell off on him. Not as much as I have with them, because he's still a great actor. I still think acting-wise, I would cast Cedric Entertainer in my show or in my movie in a heart fucking beat. In a complete heartbeat. But let's go ahead and see what Cedric Entertainer has to say about not just the Kings of Comedy, but if there will ever even be another Kings of Comedy.
Hey, man, will we see another Kings of Comedy in some capacity?
It's very serious conversations are going on right now about that. There's a couple of people very interested in the world. And, so I said I was with DL last night. We sit up talking about it. And then, Harv just is a billionaire. We got to figure out how it makes sense for him.
Right.
Like doing anything to the money that me and DL are still doing.
Steve Harvey different.
Oh my God, guys.
Yeah. Why don't I just go for free?
Yeah, I'll show up because that doesn't make any sense. I'm in Dubai.
Hey man, if you were to pull, we don't have Bernie Mac anymore.
No, man.
Who do you think could pull in if all the original Kings came together, Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, Steve Harvey. We don't have Brother Bernie Mac anymore.
Yeah, man.
Who do you feel like can get in there?
I mean, it's a lot of legendary comics, man. Like people that are dope. I always feel like a lot.
Before he goes, no one. And my automatic answer, my first answer is going to say no one. No one should be replacing Bernie Mac and the Kings of Comedy. It's not even going to be original Kings. They're not the original Kings of Comedy once you add somebody in there. But in the Kings of Comedy tour, if they did another one or they did like another special or some kind of, one-off, whatever, do it just the three. Or, and it's a very big or, you add Dave Chappelle. You add Dave Chappelle. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, Dave Chappelle's the greatest comedian of all time, whatever. But my personal opinion, I think that he is the best to be a replacement. If you are going to, like, again, that's just like saying, should Linkin Park replace Chester Bennington? Well, newsflash, they did. And it was a horrible choice. It was a chick. So... let me be clear in saying that my first choice is to say no one should replace him. But if you are going to replace Bernie Mac and the Kings of Comedy, again, even if it's just a one-off special, it's got to be Dave Chappelle. There's no question. It's got to be Dave Chappelle. If you say Kevin Hart, you deserve to have your shit revoked as well.
Out of the comics that we automatically kind of think of that, like.
And he better not say DC Young Fly or Drewski or nobody like that, because those guys aren't even fucking stand-up comedians. Those are just you can say they're comedians. You can say they're comedians. I'll give you that. I'm not going to take that away from them, but I'm not going to say they're good stand-up comedians. You got to remember that. So I don't think none of these new gen niggas are going to be able to be a part of a King of Comedy stand-up tour.
Fits the pedigree. People had their own brands, you know what I mean? You got Chappelle and you got Rock and you got Kev and
Okay, so he did mention Chappelle. I understand he mentioned. I'm not gonna be mad at Chris Rock, but I'm gonna tell you this: the last Chris Rock special I watched, I barely laughed.
Oh, and you got but then like Epps and
man,
and Earthquake. And
Okay, I'll give you Earthquake. I'll give you no, I can't say that. I can't say that. I was gonna say Lavelle Crawford. I was like, nah, I still wouldn't, because we're talking about Bernie, man. So far we have Chappelle, and again, that's a big if you were to replace him, Chappelle. And I said I'll give you Chris Rock, even though I still wouldn't choose Chris Rock, but I'll give you Chris Rock, and I'll give you Earthquake. And even Earthquake is a big if as well.
Chris Tucker, as far as just a
no, not for stand-up. No, he's not even good in movies anymore. No, stop it. Chris Tucker hasn't been good in a movie, and you could probably say he was good in that what was that, the Michael Jordan movie about the sneakers, about the Jordans. But he had a small role. He had a fairly small role in that movie, but whatever. You could probably say he was good in that. Whatever. I don't think that many people even watched that fucking movie, to be honest. But I would say Silver Linings Playbook is probably my favorite role of his since Rush Hour.
Name that people could think about, like, oh shit.
But yeah, stand-up comedy, no. At that point, you're putting Chris Tucker up there because of literally his name and I guess stardom. It's going to bring eyes to it, but it's not going to bring as many eyes as Chappelle. No one's going to bring as many eyes if you put Dave Chappelle, Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, and Steve Harvey on the show. And I'm going to stand by that.
Fox, if he wanted to do comedy.
Who makes you laugh?
Oh man, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. Mike Epps make me laugh.
Really?
Yeah,
that's dope.
Is
it the spontaneity and the quickness
raw,
and like, man, I can't believe he said that. Yeah,
it's just
Mike Epps. No. It's a close no. It's not. I had to think about it. I had to think about that one though. I'm not gonna say it's a hard no. And I had to sit there and think about it, but no. Mike Epps, no.
Always raw, and I feel so honest. Like
Yeah,
everything
man.
he's saying, like
Did you see when he kicked that girl out the show? It was some girl in the show that was having a problem, and the security was about to put her out, and he was like, "No, fuck that. We don't put nobody out. And he was with her.
Okay.
And then it was like, oh, she was talking shit and she was doing this. Everybody else was like, no, and you're like, wait, she was talking shit? Man, get her fat ass out of here. You just said, yeah, that's the rawness that you're talking about.
No, because it was really real. That's what happened right there. No, man.
Amen.
Wow, that's a funny story. Wow, that's a funny fucking story. Mike Epps is not a king of comedy when it comes to replacing Bernie Mac. I'm sorry. If we were talking about replacing Steve Harvey, taking his spot, or taking fucking D.L. Hughley's spot, I'd give you 50 fucking names. Hell, I'd say Gary Owen at that point. Even though I'm a fan of Gary Owen in terms of his comedy. Okay, so that's no slight to Gary Owen. I'm just saying. There's about 50 motherfuckers that can replace D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer, who apparently steals jokes anyway, and Steve Harvey, who apparently steals life stories anyway. And D.L. Hughley, who's a virtue signal. And the last special I watched him in, he wasn't that funny either. So him and Chris Rock are definitely a peg down from a Chappelle to begin with, who was already on his own level anyway. So again, if you're gonna replace Bernie Mac with anybody, it's gonna have to be Chappelle or no one. That's my stance on it. But someone went ahead and said this as well that I had to share. Someone said, those three niggas been trying to replace Bernie since day one. They've always been jealous and never liked him. DL said, or Steve, never been funny. Pack it up. So I retweeted it. I said, while I agree, them not being funny anymore doesn't mean they never were. And that's the one thing you need to remember. See, Cedric the Entertainer, his best work is on TV. Just the other day, I was watching his show. No, God dang, I wasn't watching his show because his show is not really that funny. The Neighborhood, but I will be fair. I haven't watched enough episodes of The Neighborhood for me to actually be invested in that show enough to actually watch that many episodes. But I watched about 2 episodes, excuse me, a couple years ago. I didn't like it. And it's not a terrible show or anything, but I was just like, it's just not mine. And I love sitcoms, like the, laugh out loud, funny sitcom stuff. But I was like, that show, I'm good on that. I might go back and watch it, though. I might go back to it. But I would say, even though it wasn't a great show, the Carmichael Show, way back when, about 6 or 7 years ago when that show came out, I think it only lasted about 1 or 2 seasons. But I thought that was actually a somewhat solid show, even though it had their fair share of pandering and virtue signaling like all these black shows do, but that's a whole nother thing. Pretty much every show does anyway. But Cedric the Entertainer was really good on Tracy Morgan's sitcom show that just came out not too recently. I forget the name of it, but I was just watching it. I watched the pilot episode and I watched like a couple more episodes, and I just kept watching it the whole night. Like I think I watched maybe about 5 or 6 episodes, like halfway through the first season of Tracy Morgan's show, and I was like, even though they've got their isms too, don't get me wrong, they all do. I was like, that seems like a fairly solid show, even though it's a very generic storyline. The dad has all his grown-up kids move back in the house with him. I mean, every fucking show does that now. So it's not really a new concept or anything like that. It's not like a far beyond, it's not a foreign concept of a show. It's pretty much predictable, but it's funny. It's got some good jokes in there, some good laughs in there. And Cedric Entertainer's character is actually funny in the show because that's what he's good at. He's good at playing characters. He's good at creating his own characters and creating his own character within a character and just being funny that way. He's more like an improv, or give him a line, give him some good lines or whatever, and he's able to play it perfectly. I remember him in one of my favorite movies in Roscoe Jenkins. Cedric Entertainer was great in that movie. Johnson Family Vacation, great in that movie as well. But man, when you're talking about stand-up comedy, ain't no fucking way Cedric Entertainer can hold or D.L. Hughley or Steve Harvey can hold a light to Bernie Mac. Or even to Dave Chappelle for that matter. And even Dave Chappelle's last stand-up, his joint was, it didn't take him a peg down. It wasn't really that great either, but it's still miles ahead better than any other stand-up I've watched since. So I don't know, man. Let me know what you guys think about that whole thing. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, all that good stuff.